Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Derby County are massive. We are absolutely ginormous. We just have to be the dark horses this season. We just are. I don't think there's any other way to discuss this at the moment. I think Derby County are, in no uncertain terms, the dark horses for championship promotion. Now, there's obviously a lot of other links going on at the moment in regards to Alfie Gilchrist, Max Johnston. You've obviously got Lewis Travis as well. But Derby County are absolutely unbelievable. Now, if you didn't know by the thumbnail, by the title, by Derby County's recent announcement, we have just signed midfielder Bobby Clark on a season-long loan from RB Salzburg in what I can only describe as one of the best moves Derby County have made in a while. I think this is a move that has all the markers of, you look at Mason Mount, Harry Wilson. For me, this is a move that has that sort of markings for me. Just in the comments, fantastic signing, what a squad, we're building it and doing it in the right way as well. You're absolutely right. Callum put in the chat earlier, we are massive, and we absolutely are. And DCFC Dex, we could get playoffs. You know something? So do I. Now, I'm trying not to get too above myself and too ahead of myself, if I'm completely honest, because we've made these moves before. But I tell you something, we are absolutely, making good moves like this is absolutely incredible. Callum, imagine if we get Travis now too. Yeah, honestly, outrageous signing. And it's ridiculous. It honestly, I'm baffled by the circumstance we find ourselves in. If you'd have told me a few weeks ago that we'd have ended up with a player like Bobby Clark, it wouldn't have been necessarily surprising to see Derby County pick up a player of this calibre with John Eustace in charge. But if we go back to February, we're in an outrageous position considering where we were on February 1st. And this squad that we've put together is an absolute joke. I don't know who else we're waiting to sign. I don't know who else is going to come through the building. But I tell you something, you cannot complain about the moves we've made so far. You just can't. It is, honestly, it's ridiculous. Now, I know that people may have their preservations about listening to news from someone like Pete O'Rourke, or people that aren't the likes of John Percy, Lee Curtis and Dom Dietrich, but I think we've got to give credit where it is due. This news didn't even come up within Derby County's atmosphere. We didn't have it from Dom Dietrich, we didn't have it from Ed Dawes, we didn't have it from any of those, and we didn't have it from Lee Curtis. Lee Curtis obviously rehashed the news from Pete O'Rourke, but for me, we've got to give our flowers to those journalists that are sort of out of our inner circle, because they do a brilliant job as well. And you go back to Selverson, Langas, that all came from outside sources as well. And to be completely honest with you, we're in an outrageous position. If we can get Travis, that would complete a fantastic summer recruitment. Do you know something? We're probably 2 players away from having probably the best summer, best transfer window in the championship, in my opinion. I think we're 2 or 3 signings away. A right back, a left winger, maybe a right winger, depending on where we see Brewster. But honestly, I think we're teetering on the edge of a fantastic move for Derby County. I'm telling you now, we are dark horses for the championship. We absolutely are. We 100% are. I'm not even lying, because I'm going to talk about it in a lot more detail tomorrow, where around 6 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to go live. We're going to go through all the championship teams, the transfers they've made, managers, and what I sort of expect. And we're going to do a bit of a prediction at the end of that as well. And I just think Derby County, as much as many people are sort of looking at us and going, where are we going to finish and things like that, I think we're going to be easily top half with some of the moves we're making. Obviously, we're still a couple of moves away, but we're very much in a good position. My dad cuts someone's hair and he goes to the same pub that Stephen Pearce goes to, and he said to him, we haven't had a takeover, so I don't know where the money's coming from. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, in regards to money, what we have to look at in that sort of regard is we've got another year of TV money, which back in our administration season was around £8 million. So you add that into the transfer kitty, we had about £7 million left from Erin Cashin moving on. So you've got there about £16-17 million to spend, which we're sort of on the way to spending. So we might not have had a takeover, but we've got money to spend. Callum, let's go back to Warren. We were crying out for a single one of those signings. Do you know something? It's really funny you mentioned Paul Warren, because I think for the last 3 years, obviously including this transfer window, we've been linked with Bobby Clark. Last season, there was a permanent offer on the table, apparently, a rumoured permanent offer on the table, and he ended up going to Salzburg. Now, the Salzburg move didn't work, but he's ended up here anyway, so I'm absolutely buzzing with this. I am absolutely buzzing. The Rebels, stay grounded, just enjoy the ride if we are up there. You're absolutely correct. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We don't want to worry too much about sort of going for the playoffs, going for promotion. For me, my main aim and target this season is mid-table security. I want to be sort of guaranteed championship status by April. That's what I want as a Derby County fan. But obviously going forward, there's still sort of a lot of moves that can be made. And obviously we're not the only team that's making good moves in the transfer window. Derby Edits, I remember he played against us for Liverpool a few seasons ago when it went down to penalties. You're absolutely correct, he did. And I don't actually think he was too bad in that game, if I remember rightly. We've not really spent serious money. We've recruited well, yeah. You look at the money we've spent. We've spent a little bit on Carlton Morris to get him out of Luton. We've spent a bit on Patrick Agimang. Then it's, free transfers with Brewster, Donnell, Bath and Vyman. You've then got Ozo and Beck that are in as loan signings. In my opinion, very good moves for those loan signings as well. So we have recruited really, really well. And we've not overspent. We've not put ourselves in a position where we're going to be worrying about FFP. So I think we're in a great position, to be completely honest with you. But it's one of those where we've just got to keep ourselves on the straight and narrow and sort of keep our eyes on the prize, essentially. We will have another 5 million to spend. Well, I'll be completely honest. If you look at Alfie Gilchrist a few months ago, well, it wasn't even a few months ago, it was probably a few weeks ago. I did a video on him because we was linked with him around July time, I think it was. And it was reported that he'd be worth about £5 million to Chelsea. But ultimately, at the moment, we haven't yet I don't know if we've put an offer in or anything like that for Gilchrist, but obviously if we're looking at bringing in Max Johnston, it's sort of going to be one of those that's sort of teetering on the edge of do we go and get Gilchrist, do we go and get Johnston, what sort of moves are we trying to make? Callum, you reckon he plays against Stoke or too soon? I said the other day about Max Johnston that if they're in by Tuesday, I think they have a good chance of being involved. I don't know if he'll start, but I certainly think he'll be on the bench. DCSE Dex, Carlton Morris is rumoured to be around 900k, which is obviously it's a wonderful deal for Carlton Morris, a very, very good championship striker. And for me, he's got one team to the Premier League. Why can't he get another one? And honestly, I'm going to see if I can find my tweet with the squad depth chart that I put out a couple of days ago. I need to do a new one which has Bobby Clark in it. But we're in a position which is, like, it is outrageous. Genuinely, it is outrageous, the position we're in. I'm delighted with some of the moves we've been making. And obviously, you look at the squad that we're putting together and the players that we've got involved. Like, it is genuinely incredible. Like, I said it on Twitter earlier on today that I think there's a chance that Derby County don't even might not have Ibu Adams as a starter next season, and a lot of people sort of aren't sure about that. But I genuinely do believe that there's a possibility that he might not even be a starter by the end of the season. What's up, dude? At first, I wasn't impressed with Bobby Clark signing, but looking at his highlights, he's impressed. honestly, unbelievable player. I cannot wait to see him in a Derby shirt, because I do think he's one of those players that you have to see. A bit like David McGoldrick, I put on Twitter a few weeks ago. If you haven't watched David McGoldrick for your team, I don't think you appreciate how good he actually is. Now, obviously, everybody can have their own takes on things like that, but honestly, for me, very, very good player. Brewster on the wing and Clark at the 10, or the way around, I'd be happy either way. Just adds depth. Now, let me just pull up my squad depth chart. Right, so here is the squad depth chart. Let me make the chat a bit smaller for you so you can see the whole chart. But if we do look at this squad depth chart, now I'm a bit undecided on where sort of Brewster is going to fit in. Is he going to be down the right? Is he going to be as the 10? Because of where he played for Sheffield United, I was anticipating that he'd sort of be the 10, maybe off the left. But he can obviously play all 4 of these positions, which is really good for Derby County. I'm excited about Brewster, as the last part of last season he looked promising and was in decent form. Completely agree with you. He's had a bit of a worry over the course of recent years in regards to injuries, but he's certainly going to put himself in a good position for me. Add Joe Ward on the wing. I am really tempted to do that, but I'm just sort of waiting to see where John Eustace does use him, because Eustace is sort of in that position where Ward can sort of play left, right, there. He can play as a 10 as well. He did it for Peterborough a few years ago. But we're in a very good position here where Brewster can play on the right, the left, and through the middle. Vyman can play on the right, left, through the middle. Blackett-Taylor stays on the left. Jackson can play right, left, and through the middle. Ward-Wilson can play right, left, as well as right back. So we're in a very, very, very good position. We need to start strong and smash them, but I'm worried about the injury list. Do you know, completely agree. Injuries are a big worry at the moment, but what we've got to also sort of notice is the players that we're bringing in, I don't think that the injury list is going to be too much of a worry in a few weeks' time. I think we're going to be in a great position. I hope this isn't another Embleton situation where he joins on loan, gets injured and leaves early. I don't think that Clark will be that, if I'm completely honest. For me, though, if I'm honest, if we get back to where I think Clark is going to play, I think Clark is going to be that number 10. I think it's going to be like Ozo and Adams or Ozo and Kenzo with Clark in the 10, maybe Brewster off the right, Blackett-Taylor off the left, and then Morris or Ajimang as the starter. I know I need to change Forsyth's contract length, by the way. Just bear with me on that one. But we're in a very, very good position for me. It is a very, very good position. Now, obviously, with sort of the depth chart and everything that we've got going for us at Derby County at the moment, if we do bring in an Alfie Gilchrist, if we do bring in a Max Johnston, if we do bring in a Lewis Travis, you look at that position that puts us in, and I don't think anybody, literally anybody, is going to be complaining, if I'm completely honest, because it's just we've just got a great squad coming together for us. Embleton was already injury prone. I don't think Clark has been injured a lot. Clark's injury record is actually quite good, to be fair. I think it's only 2 or 3 injuries and he's only missed about 3 or 4 games. But even if he does pick up a couple of injuries, that happens. That is part and parcel of football. Obviously, the main thing for us is that they're not long term. Like the issue that we had last season with David Ozo was both the injuries he had were quite severe and quite long term, and that's sort of the problem that we faced. I think we need a right back and a quality winger, and I'd be happy. Do you know something? I think a right back and a left winger, and I think we're pretty much done, if I'm completely honest. I know some people might say we probably need another right-sided player as well, but I think a right back, left winger, and I'd be quite happy with the squad. Obviously, we need to sort of see the situation with Elder and Craig Forsyth, but we're going to have to wait and see. Also just shows how well Eustace has done with the team of last season when all of them are leaving for League One and League Two teams. Yeah, I said this on stream, I think a couple of days ago, that Eustace has done a great job with Derby County. It's been a great job, and I don't think anybody can deny that, but he doubled the points with the same squad as what Paul Warne had. And I was very sort of not anti Paul Warne. I thought he was a great guy, but ultimately the problem that he faced was he didn't know the Championship. He's never been successful in the Championship, and ultimately the finances weren't necessarily there for him to go and sort of be one of the best managers in the Championship that sort of turns us into that team even without like the best squad, which is obviously sort of it's a bit his fault, it's a bit other people's fault, but we're going to have to wait and see. If we bring in a couple more, would the squad size be too big? Outgoings inevitable. Now, in regards to outgoings, the registration is 25 players, 21 and older. So your Rooney's, your Dejan Browns, your Charles Abukas, players like that don't get registered. Now, I'm not 100% sure if keepers need to be registered. Because if keepers don't, then we've got a couple of slots. But if keepers need to be registered, then we're in a position where outgoings are inevitable, if I'm completely honest. And I think the only ones we can really look at for players potentially moving on is Joe Ward, Ben Osborne, and maybe Callum Elder. But obviously, we're going to have to sort of wait and see on that one. Do you think promotion is a possibility? I think we're sort of teetering on the edge of being a playoff side, if I'm completely honest. I think we've got a very, very good base of the squad now, and I think we're bringing in those higher quality players. I think we're maybe 1 or 2 signings away from being a team that should really be pushing for playoffs. Now, I've said all along, 15th and above, I'd be happy with. But with the signings we're making, I think we've really got to start be pushing top 6 maybe. But obviously, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And obviously, some of you will probably agree with me on that as well. Eustace, top 3 manager in the league, 100% completely agree. In my opinion, I think he's the best manager in the league. If you look at what he's done over the last few years, obviously, Birmingham City got them out of relegation trouble, turned them into playoff contenders before they got sacked. Blackburn Rovers, relegation candidates, playoffs where he was there. Derby County, relegation candidates, and it wouldn't surprise me if we end up in the playoffs. I'd hope Elder stays. He was one of our underrated players last season. I do agree. I think with Owen Beck, though, I don't think Callum Elder is going to be a starter this year, and I don't know sort of where his head would be at in regards to sitting on the bench. Especially with how impressive he was at times last year. It's a very, very interesting one to sort of keep across, and hopefully that's something which John Eustace will be able to iron out. Hi, this is Monty, if you remember me, but I'm on my mum's phone. Hi, Monty. Yes, I do remember you. One of the main commenters over the course of the last couple of years on this channel. Appreciate all your support. I don't want us to get promoted. We won't be ready next year for... well, you're not wrong that we won't be ready, but when are you ever going to be ready if you don't have parachute payments? In complete honesty, I think if you look at the teams sort of around sort of that promotion pushing area, pretty much everyone is parachute payments. And that isn't going to change. Realistically, to get into the Premier League, you have to look yourself up there. Luton Town did it, and look where it's left them, going all the way down to League One. And I'm not saying that we're in a bad position as Derby County if we do go up. I think if we go up, we're in an excellent position. A brilliant position for David Clowes to potentially push the club on. A brilliant position for obviously the rest of the players in the club as well. And maybe even a player like Bobby Clark would sign permanently. So we're in a great position for me. But we've got to wait, really. We need to see how the first few weeks goes. Obviously, Wilson, Langas, Salverson, Nelson, all aren't even in training yet. So we've got loads of players to return before we can even start having a proper sort of look and go ahead at what this squad could be in 6 months' time, let's say. Who knows what we might need in January? Because given the squad right now, it is tenfold better than what we had this time last year. You look at the forward options, genuinely, if you look at the forward options, last season we had Jerry Yates, James Collins and Dejan Brown. This season we've got Morris, Ajimang, Salverson, Dejan Brown, Ibuka, Jackson can play up there. You've got Brewster can play up there, Vyman. We're in an unbelievable position. Our ins and outs are really impressive. We had signed a few young players, a few aging but experienced champ players, and selling old players who were on a decent wage. Completely agree, absolutely spot on. Callum, do you prefer Johnson or Gilchrist? I'll be completely honest, I'm more in tune of bringing in Max Johnston because I think that would be more likely to be a permanent deal. And with the situation regarding Kane Wilson's contract, obviously Ryan Nyambi's injury history, it's one of those where I'd rather bring in a player that we can sort of develop into our own than someone who we could have now and then in 6 months' time, Chelsea can call him back and maybe sell him to someone else, or in the summer he moves on. I'd rather have a player that we can build with. I don't have an issue with the loan system. I think the loan system is brilliant, as you've seen with this move for Bobby Clark, the move for David Ozo, Owen Beck. But I think sometimes you've got to look at the options available. I'm not saying that Johnston's a better player, but I think they're quite equal in terms of ability, same in age really. But I just think that Johnston is more likely to be a permanent move, and I think that's better for Derby County moving forward. Eustace is definitely cooking up a playoff push, maybe a push, but top half of the table looking likely on paper. Do you know, I completely agree with you. I certainly believe that the moves we've made so far are certainly pushing us in that direction of being a proper sort of playoff promotion contender. And now, do I think that we will get promoted next season? Ultimately, I think it's a very slim chance. But I think, as John Eustace said in the fans forum it was about a month or so ago now, getting promoted would be an excellent season, and that's what we're aiming to have. Like, we're aiming for an excellent season, of course we are. We're aiming for promotion. I actually said this a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure what video it was in, but I said that as a club, we need to be sort of... You want to be going into every game thinking that you can win. And you want to be going in, whether it be against the league leaders, whether it be the team at the bottom, and thinking, you know what, we have a real opportunity here to go and push ourselves and cause problems at the top end of the division. And I think under John Eustace, we certainly can do that. I think even if we do get promoted to the Premier League, we would need new owners. I do agree. I'm not necessarily turning around and saying that David Clowes is a bad owner or anything like that. I don't want anyone to get the wrong end of the stick. But I do believe that if we can bring in... we just need a bit more money. Now, obviously, if David Clowes is sort of putting every penny that Derby earn back into the club, then we could actually be all right in the Premier League, but we will need a little bit of extra investment, I feel. If you look at the money that Sunderland are spending, I think they've spent well over £150 million now. I'll actually get them up on Transfer Market just to make sure that I've got me numbers right here, but I'm pretty sure Sunderland have spent a pretty penny. If you obviously go back to what Forest spent a few years ago, like, you've got to spend a decent chunk of change to stay in the division. Hi Beza. And it's hard to sort of see sort of where we go if we go up, but I do think if we go up, it makes us such a exciting proposition. If we look at what Sunderland have spent in the Premier League this season, 141 million euros so far across the course of this transfer window. And do I believe that David Clowes could do that straight away? I'm not entirely sure. We've not made one bad signing. Completely agree. I think the signings we've made so far have been really good for what they're coming in to do. Weimann is a depth player. Bath will be a depth player once Langas is back. You look at, obviously, Morris is great. Agyemang will be. Obviously, Brewster, really good signing as well. What happened to that American guy who was supposed to be a candidate to be our new investor? Now, I'm assuming you're talking about Arthur Blank, who is... I'm pretty sure he's like the co-founder of Home Depot. Now, it was just rumours, and I did sort of specify that in the video that I posted about it. It was one of those where at the time everyone on the forum was sort of gearing towards something going off on the 1st of July. Now, obviously, we're on the 5th of August now and nothing happened, but it doesn't mean that conversations aren't ongoing. Do I believe that it's going to be... Do I believe that he's going to be the new investor? I'm not entirely sure. It would obviously be a great investor for us because he's worth a ton of money. Pride Park better be rocking on my TV from the States. I absolutely hope it is for you, mate. I'm going to come back to the stream in a bit to watch signings for you. Yeah, no worries, mate. Go ahead. Have some fun. But in terms of investors and investment and things like that, realistically, the way we're sort of going about things sort of at this moment in time... I think we're in a great position. I do believe we're in a great position, and I don't necessarily think we need those investors like right now. I think they need to come, but right now it's sort of teetering on the edge of needing it right now. What happened to the Camille Conte and Dion Sanderson rumours? Now, it was reported by, I believe, EFL Analysis that Camille Conte was pretty much a done deal. So if I'm completely honest, I'm not entirely sure what happened with that move. Whether it be Derby County didn't want to make the move because of his decision, his injuries. Because obviously last season he was out for pretty much 6 to 7 months. So is it a case of Derby County didn't want to take that risk with injuries? Is it a case of they decided to pull out of the deal because they were able to go and get David Ozo back? Or they knew that this move for Bobby Clark was potentially happening? I know Conte's a little bit of a different player, but it sort of opens up them doors. And if we are in for Lewis Travis like people are claiming, then I don't think we can sort of be disappointed with the circumstances of not getting Conte. I'm not saying Conte isn't a good player, but he's obviously never played at this level, and that's obviously the sort of issue with it. But we're going to have to sort of wait and see on that one. It might still happen. The Dion Sanderson one, it's funny because that sort of popped up again this afternoon from someone on Twitter who I know has friends that work at Rams TV. So I don't really know how legitimate the Sanderson rumour is, but it could potentially happen. It was only valued at around £1 million. And if you look at sort of some of the aging defenders in our backline, Bath, Fozzie, Nelson, they're all out of contract. Well, Bath and Nelson are out of contract at the end of this year. Sanderson's, 27, 28. So it adds that extra option if we need to do that. Hope I'm wrong, but I still feel we have too many players made of glass. The physio room will be busy yet again. I don't necessarily disagree that we've got a lot of players that have sort of injury histories, but I think that the one thing that we've got to acknowledge so far this sort of season is that we're going into the season with a much better depth. Like in regards to, like, even if you look at the players in sort of that sort of double pivot role is exactly the same as last season. It's Ozo, Osborne, Thompson, Adams and Kenzo, right? But we also had to fill the 10 role with that before, whereas now we've got Clark, Brewster, Vyman who can all play that role. We're still lacking in the wide areas, I agree. Striker position, I think once Selverson and Ajimanga back, we're fine. But I think we're probably sort of one striker away at the moment based on injuries. Defensively, injuries are a little bit of an issue, but we can sort of we can make it work, I think. Do you reckon any more signings before Stoke? I'd love a couple more signings before Stoke if I'm honest, but I don't think anybody who signs now, unless they sign tomorrow, I don't think anybody else will be sort of taking a space in the squad if I'm completely honest. Eustace said there should be new faces. He did say new faces. He did say plural. Do I think there'll be more that will be in and playing for Stoke, playing against Stoke? I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a very, very tight one because it's obviously that situation where you don't really know how they fit in straight away. But it's one of those which can sort of go either way depending on the circumstance we find ourselves in. If we need a signing in to play at the weekend, I think it'll get done. But I don't necessarily think that I don't think we need to rush anything, if I'm honest. What do you think of Kane Wilson's future at Derby County? Now, it's been an interesting one with Kane Wilson because over the course of the last few months, let's say, pretty much since the end of the season when his contract extension was triggered, I think it's sort of on the edge of he might stay, he might go, which is obviously quite obvious. There's only two ways that he can go. But in regards to contract discussions, it's sort of that position where all the sort of smoke, let's say, because we don't know how real it is, all the smoke suggests that he's turned down a couple of lucrative contract offers and Derby County and him haven't quite come to an agreement on the situation. But obviously we don't know how true that is. If he does decide to move on, I wish him well. I'd rather him sign a new contract and make us some money. But it's just one of those circumstances. Ryan Brewster, yeah, great signing so far. I'm back. Question, would you be angry if we got investment from Red Bull and they changed the logo, the brand and the stadium? I'll be completely honest, I don't think that David Clowes would allow that to happen, if I'm completely honest. I think David Clowes is obviously a massive fan of the football club, and I don't think that he'd sort of like sanction that, if I'm honest. Hi Lewis, what do you think about Alan Nixon reporting that Ebro Adams is going to Blackburn? Now, I know that is Jay, who is an absolute knob, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Haven't seen anything about Ebro Adams going to Blackburn. But if he does go to Blackburn, he goes to Blackburn. Like, I said it earlier today over on Twitter. I think that by the end of the season, I think that Ebro Adams might not even be a starter for Derby County. And I genuinely do believe that in the direction that we're going as a football club. And the fact that he's been playing as a number 10 during pre-season, I think, as much as we all like Ebro, that's not his position. And the fact that he was playing as a 10 rather than the double pivot, I think sort of speaks volumes, if I'm completely honest. So excited, mate. It's unreal. Ebro going nowhere. I'm excited too. I'm really excited for the start of the season. Going to go through everything to do with the championship tomorrow on stream. Ebro ain't going anywhere. I don't think he will, because I think we value him a lot higher than what he is actually worth. But obviously, everybody has their own opinion, if I'm completely honest. But with obviously Ebro Adams, I think people know my opinion in regards to that. I don't think I need to go over it again. He's just one of those players that he just has a bit of a lack in certain areas that I don't necessarily think you want in midfield. I just joined. Do you think Bobby Clark is a good signing? I do. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a very, very positive signing for Derby County. Now, obviously, it is only a season-long loan, but if Derby County were to get promoted, I think there's 100% a possibility that Derby County may be even able to put in a bid to sort of seal that deal and maybe make him a permanent player at Derby County. There was an opportunity for Newcastle to sign him, apparently, on a loan with obligation for about, I want to say, £5-6 million, I think it was reported at. But obviously, like, Derby County have done a great job so far. What's the next one? Surely we have secret backing. I don't necessarily think we have secret backing, if I'm completely honest. It's one of those circumstances where we quite clearly have money to spend, but is it because of the extra money from TV money? Because we've guaranteed ourselves another year in the Championship? Is it... Obviously, we've got that cash-in money as well, which was, I think he was value. I think cash-in went for about 10 million. We spent 4.5 on Langas. We had that money left. You look at what we spent this summer. That then disappeared, and the money is still there. So I'd probably say it's TV money, if I'm honest, but I'm not entirely sure. Apparently, Dion Sanderson is on his way. That tells me Clark is probably out for a while. The thing is about Dion Sanderson is I'd rather play Jake Rooney. And I know that probably sounds really silly, but I would much rather give Jake Rooney the opportunity. But we're going to have to sort of wait and see what happens with that one. There's been no sort of links that I've seen in regards to Dion Sanderson, like, concretely coming. But it's one of those where we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that one. Great thing is, for the first time in forever, we have a manager that develops and makes players better. Completely agree. We also have a manager that knows the division we're in, knows the Championship, and he's been very, very good at this level, with obviously everything that he's done. This Bobby Clark, any good? I believe so. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Was at Newcastle as a youngster, moved to Liverpool after Newcastle, and then obviously went through their youth system, made his debut for Liverpool's first team, then obviously moved on to Salzburg, where it's just not quite worked out, but that happens every now and again. What's the rumour of Travis signing? Now, it's been bandied around over social media across the course of the last 24 hours that he's apparently agreed personal terms, but Blackburn are stalling on the fee. But obviously there's no legitimate sources giving that at the moment. I spoke about it in a video earlier today. I've got a video tomorrow discussing the transfer updates in regards to Travis, in regards to Bobby Clark is in the video as well, but obviously that deal's now done, so you can sort of skip past that one. But obviously Johnston and Gilchrist as well, so we'll have to see how that goes. Are you actually Derby's greatest ever fan, judging by your sign? Well, you're all entitled to your own opinions. I don't necessarily think I'm the greatest fan. I don't necessarily think I'm any better than anybody else. We all have our own ways of supporting the club, and we all believe that we're doing the right thing for ourselves and for the club. Derby Edits, will you go live for the Stoke game? Yes, I will be live for the Stoke game. We'll be doing a watch along again like we did for the pre-season friendly the other day. Hi Lewis, are you going to go to any of the games this season or watch them from your shed? Yes, I have a season ticket. I'll be at every single home game, cup or league. I'll be at every single home game. Maybe a couple of away games, but not quite worried about that, to be honest with you, quite yet. I spoke about it the other day in my live watch along for the friendly. I just think away games are very pricey, let's put it that way. Any updates on Matt Clark? No, but I'd anticipate we will get one either tomorrow or Thursday when John Eustace does his press conference. I think we'll get one on Owen Beck as well, where we'll probably get a proper understanding of sort of where they find themselves and if they will be available for the weekend, and whether we're going to see Jake Rooney starting at centre half or will it be Matt Clark. What's the best signing so far? What do you think? I think in terms of the best signing, I think it's really hard to actually give a best signing, to be quite clear, because the only ones that have actually sort of played really is Carlton Morris and Danny Bath. Vyman hasn't really played, Brewster hasn't played, so I think it's really quite early to sort of judge who is that best signing at the moment. But we'll have to sort of wait and see as the season progresses. I'm excited to sort of see Ryan Brewster. I think he's got a lot about him. I'm excited to look at Patrick Agyemang. Obviously spent a lot of money on him. And obviously Bobby Clark signing. That's an incredible signing that I really want to see do well. When you think is going to leave to balance the books? I'm assuming you mean who do you think is going to balance the books? Yeah. In terms of players leaving, the ones I could potentially see out the door, Callum Elder, Ben Osborne, Joe Ward. Now, pardon me, in regards to Joe Ward, I don't know. I think they're the three that could move, if I'm completely honest. They're the only three that I have in my mind that could potentially move on. But we'll have to wait and see. Genuine suggestion, you should do away vlogs on the beers. I'd subscribe if you did. Well, I actually don't drink, but I would be open to doing away games and stuff like that. But we'll wait and see over the season. I think up to the international break will be hard. After that will come good. What do you reckon? Yeah, that's exactly what I think. If I'm completely honest with you, why are the microphones covering half your face? The microphone's covering half my face. I don't have any microphones covering my face on my screen. Let me pull it up on YouTube. Just give me a second. But yeah, I completely agree in regards to Derby County, and the first few games are going to be a little bit difficult. But obviously, it's one of those situations where I think if we can battle through, win a couple of games, I think we'll be fine. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it looks fine on my screen. No microphones over my face. That might just be on your end. On the gaming channel, I would like to see a manager career mode on FC26. Well, we are going to be bringing some gaming live streams and stuff to the channel. Just at the end of the day, I play games every now and again, so it's worth it. So we'll probably do something like that on stream and put it into videos for that channel. I say Ryan Niambi might go. I don't know what his situation is, but he might find it hard getting into the team. I think if Niambi's going to go, it will be a sort of end of transfer window move, if I'm completely honest with you. Because obviously at the moment, Wilson's out injured and Clark's out injured, which means that Rooney can't play centre-back and right-back. So we're going to have to sort of wait and see how that sort of shakes up for me. I do like Ryan Niambi. I think he's a very good player. I think he's probably one of the best one-on-one defenders in the division. But obviously you've got that circumstance of you never really know how it's going to shake out in terms of injuries. It wouldn't actually surprise me if Ryan Niambi was maybe part of a deal that brought Lewis Travis to Derby. That wouldn't surprise me, if I'm honest. How many more signings do you think we're away from a real top 6 push? It's interesting. I mentioned that earlier. I think we're 2 or 3. 2 or 3 signings. A left winger, a right back, and obviously depending on Callum Elder's situation, maybe a left back, but also maybe a right midfielder as well. Because I think we're lacking in those areas in terms of strength and depth. Obviously on the left-hand side, the only real player we've got that is an out-and-out left-sided player is Corey Blackett-Taylor. So we still sort of need another one. Right-hand side, we've only got Jackson. Yes, we've got a couple of other players that can play there, but it's one of those. Do you think Niambi will ever score a goal? No, probably not. I don't think he's that type of player. Now, I know a lot of people look at it and will go, well, loads of defenders score, but I just don't think Niambi has that type of mindset to get in the box, if I'm honest. But we'll have to sort of wait and see sort of how that goes over the next couple of weeks. Will Adjimang be a flop? Now, there is a high possibility Adjimang stinks up the gaff. There is. Because he's only played in the MLS, he's only done 2 years of senior football. So there is that possibility. There definitely is. The only thing with that is I also think that also gives less chance for him to sort of be seen as a flop. Because I think if you genuinely look at Adjimang, you know it's going to be difficult starting with, but he's got that sort of ability. If we can see ability and see bright lights like we did with Kenzo, I think he'll be okay, but we'll just have to wait and see. How likely do you think Lewis Travis signs? At the moment, I'm going to say 40-60. 40 that he signs, 60 that he doesn't, because I don't actually think there's an offer in. We haven't had anything reported or anything like that an actual offer has been placed for Lewis Travis. So we're sort of in that position at the moment. So we're sort of gonna have to wait a sec. But it could happen. It might not. Evening Lewis looking good for minimum playoff charge this season. Definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility. P.S. What's your thoughts on where Salverson fits in? Now, I did a depth thing earlier today over on Twitter, just in regards of what our squad could look like should Clark sign, and Salverson wasn't involved in the team. And I'm not necessarily saying that Salverson doesn't have a role to play this season, but is certainly in a position where, I don't know, I think if Morris starts well, Adjimang comes back, scores a few goals, he is in a really, really difficult position. I genuinely think he is. And I think he could end up back in Norway in January. But we'll have to wait and see, because it's quite easy that we could go to a two-striker set, and that then sort of shakes everything up. But we'll have to wait and see. If we're winning by 2 and we have a pair and give it Niambi, as much as I think that's a great idea, I don't think we'll do it. Just because of how volatile football is. Loving the squad at the minute, surely a top 10 season. I've said from the end of last season, 15th and above is where I'm aiming. But with the signings we've made, I'm definitely saying we should be going top half. It's random that the Clark reports came out today and he signed hours later. The Clark move is a very sort of interesting one. How sort of quickly it seemed as if it's happened. But it wouldn't surprise me if those conversations started back when we was in Austria, if I'm completely honest. Like, there's always a reason why we play these pre-season friendlies. Like, there's always a reason behind it. Whether the manager knows the other manager, whether players know each other or things like that, there is always a reason behind all the pre-season friendlies. Do you think this will be Jackson's redemption season? I personally think he's had a strong pre-season. I actually don't think he's been that bad in terms of pre-season, to be honest. I think he's in a position where, a bit like Corey Blackett-Taylor, he's got a point to prove, because I think he got a lot of stick last season, and I think many people will agree, rightfully so, but it's one of those where if he comes in, scores the first couple of games like he did last season, that praise will skyrocket, and can he hold on to it? Can he keep the consistency? That's been my thought about Blackett-Taylor. It's been my thought about Jackson over the course of this pre-season. It's whether they can keep the consistency going up until the end of this season coming up, because that's what we need. From highlights I've seen of Ajimang, he seems to thrive on the counter-attack and one-on-ones with the keeper. He's an unbelievable. He's very, very good. He's strong, he's quick, and he can cause problems. And it'll be interesting to see sort of how it moves forward with Ajimang once he's back fit. Salverson will be a bit part player. I think so. Yeah, I do think so. But I think it depends on injuries, to be quite honest with you. Because if Ajimang isn't back early, then obviously Salverson then takes that spot, and it's then Salverson's spot to lose. But we'll have to wait and see. Keep up the good work going. Keep the good work going. Fuck the trolls. Absolutely. Thank you for the support. Carlton Morris could easily be the 20 goals a season striker we genuinely need. I agree. I don't. Whether it be 20 goals scored, I'm not sure, but 20 goal contributions, I think, is definitely a possibility. I'm not saying he's like Chris Martin, but his stature and the way he can hold up the ball sort of gives me Chris Martin vibes. And anybody that knows me knows I absolutely adore Chris Martin. Absolutely adore him. Hope Salverson fits in. I've seen a lot of Norwegian football. This lad will score goals. I agree. I do think that if he gets fit and is a key part of the team, he knows where the back of the net is. We've just got to get him chances. And I think with the players that we've got around him this season, definitely a possibility. Jakob Vidal Zetterstrom, head protection on or off this season? Well, it seems as if it's going to be off, if I'm honest. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know why it's off. But hey-ho, he's made his decision. He doesn't want to wear it anymore, or doesn't have to wear it anymore. So we'll just have to see sort of how that progresses. Reckon Blackburn will be as big this year? Do you mean in terms of playoff push? Because if you're talking in terms of being in the playoffs, I think they've got a very, very good manager. Valerian Ismail is a manager I wanted to take over from Paul Warne. So very, very good manager. Certainly has the capabilities of putting the team in that position. It's just whether or not he has the back in, which at the end of the day is why John Eustace came here, in my opinion. So I don't think there'll be as much of a problem, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see. Thoughts on Walker at DCFC? Seen a few of his TikToks. Seen him on Twitter a few times. DM'd me once. Don't really know the guy. Hope he's okay. Or she. Whoever. But we'll see. How many goals do you think Brewster may bag? In honesty, if Brewster gets 10 goal contributions this season, I think I'll be happy. But obviously that depends on where he plays. If he plays as a 9, I'm saying 15. If he plays in the 3 behind, 10 goal contributions, I think I'll be happy. Because I think last season, in terms of goal contributions, the squad was pretty poor. Let me just get it up. So I've got accurate data. I don't want to be telling you lies. Championship 23-24. In terms of goal contributions, we only had one player in double figures, and that was Jerry Yates. So if he can get 10, I'd be happy. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. If he's as good for us as Steve Howard was, we are laughing. Completely agree. 100%. He's a very, very good player with Steve Howard. Had a massive impact on Derby County and was part of that team, which ultimately did a very good job. I'm sticking up for you in Warcap's comments, by the way. What, has he posted about me again? Is that another person posting about me? Some people, eh? Not going to be able to stay for long, but I think he's a good player. Clark, I hope Liverpool get Isaac. Completely agree, mate. Thank you for stopping by, Will. Obviously, hope you have a good night. Dean Steele, are we dark horses this season? I'm going to go through why I think that tomorrow in the Championship preview that I'm going to do. I definitely think we are. I don't think people actually understand sort of how many good options we've got right now. Don't get me wrong, I still think we're a little bit a ways from being that sort of playoff team. But in terms of where we finished last season to where I think we're going to be this year, I think we're definitely the dark horses. What's one position you think we need the most? Next, for me, it's right wing. That, for me, depends. If Brewster is going to play on the right and Clark is the 10, I think it's left. But if Clark and Brewster are both going to be 10s, then I think it's the wing positions. And I think everybody can see that. I think everybody agrees with that as well, if I'm completely honest. But we'll have to wait and see. I have actually just had a message that someone has been told that Sanderson is joining us. So a little bit disappointing, that one. Any updates on Gilchrist from Chelsea? Just that we've held talks. There's nothing more on that. I've got a video dropping discussing the link to Gilchrist and things like that. I am actually just going to hop on over to Twitter and take a look if there's anything on there in regards to Dion Sanderson, because we can give that a quick look over. It's come from Alan Nixon. Interesting one. Dion Sanderson. We'll obviously discuss it if it happens. Apparently it's going to be a loan with a view to permanent. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Good cover, but not sure how I feel about it. I'm so glad Blackett Taylor's had a good pre-season. I've been defending his name since he joined the squad, and I'm happy to see him play. Completely agree. I've always said that Blackett Taylor is that sort of player that he needs confidence. He needs to be given the opportunity, and I don't necessarily think he got a run under Paul Warne, which ultimately is what probably cost him his position in that regard, to be quite honest with you. Dion Sanderson on loan with option to buy. Good cover, to be fair. Yeah, it is good cover. It's just, I don't know, if you look at like Gilchrist, who can play centre-back, you look at the players we've already got in that position, I don't necessarily think we need him. Like at centre-back, we've got Rooney, Bart, Clark, Fozzie can play there, Niambi. Like, we've got so many options. We have. I just don't know if it's what we need. Went to the Warsaw game and sat behind the away goal, and when Abuka came on, the chemistry of the academy players took over the pitch. Abuka needs to get a pro contract, stay till January and loan. Completely agree. That's exactly what I think. Who is your all-time favourite Derby County player? Now, it was, when I was like little, Tommy Smith, and I mean I was like really little. And sort of as the years have gone by, Chris Martin was definitely one of them. Love Mason Mount. Obviously not a permanent Derby County player, so I don't know if that counts. If we're going to talk about a permanent Derby County player, I'd have to say between Chris Martin and Tom Ince. But let me know yours down in the comments. In Eustace we trust, absolutely. Best player I've seen live, Paolo One Shop. Best player I've seen live, sort of not on the way to retirement, is probably Mason Mount. That I can remember anyway. I think Mason Mount is an unbelievable footballer. Thoughts on the job Stephen Pearce is doing? I take my hat off to him. He's done magnificent since administration. I do think he's done a great job. And obviously, I'm not going to turn around and act like me and Stephen Pearce are best buds. But when I was at Derby County and I did a couple of the under-21s games with the under-21s analyst, I spoke to him a couple of times. And I'll be completely honest, I don't think he's half as bad as a lot of fans make him out to be. I think he's a very nice bloke. I think he does the best job that he can do. Is it the best job anybody in the world can do? I don't necessarily think yes. I think obviously there's going to be people out there that can do a better job, but in my opinion, he's doing the best that he can possibly do, and he's doing his best to repair his reputation. And I do think he's doing a good job at that. He's had a lot of stick for negotiations over the last few years, and I think he's done a great job this season. Like, if I'm completely honest, you look at the moves we're making, unbelievable. I said it last year. A lot of the problem last year was Paul Warne. It wasn't Stephen Pearce. It was Paul Warne, and nobody wanted to play his football. I think Morris is a massive signing, to be honest. It will be the players around him to produce, and I think we have them, whoever it will be. Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely think we've got the right players around the striker now to be able to create those opportunities. But obviously, that's going to be sort of a difficult one to look across as the season progresses. Do you reckon Paul Warne will go for a few more of his signings from us to join MK Dons? I've had like a thought in the back of my mind that Joe Ward, Dejan Brown and Jake Rooney could end up there. Rooney on loan, Ward permanent, Dejan Brown loan, but I'm not sure. What position did you play? Are you talking me as in a footballer? Because I started as a striker. I was a versatile player. I played striker, I played centre mid, I played as a 10, a 6, right back, left back. Even at the back end of my time playing football, I played at centre half, played in the wing positions. But one of those. We need cover in both wings, to be honest, CBT and Jackson. Yeah, I completely agree. Brewster can play there, Clark can play there, Vyman can play there, but obviously not their sort of like main position. I love Tom Ince. He was on the back of one of the first Derby shirts I ever owned. Don't blame you. If any of you do want a Derby shirt, it's not in the description of this video, but in the description of my other videos, there's a link to Kitbag. Go and pick yourself up anything off Kitbag, really. It doesn't have to be a Derby County shirt. It does help support the channel a little bit. Hashtag ad. But thank you for all your support. Seems as if everything positive at the club. It also seems the facilities are a lot better, like the changing rooms, the new design outside the West Stand. I can only see good things going forward. Spot on, spot on. Was at the final friendly of pre-season. Kenzo's goal was class. How is no one still talking about it? I have watched that goal over and over again. I posted my reaction to it on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Like, I'm baffled. I still can't believe it went in. I hope Paul Warne does well at MK Dons. Always be remembered for what he's done for us. Hope he gets a standing ovation if he ever comes back. I don't think anybody will give Paul Warne a bad reception if he does come back. But it's one of those where ultimately, I think everyone knew that there was more available out of the players. It was just one of those where he couldn't be the one to get it out of them. But I hope he does well at MK. I know they had a little bit of a struggle at the weekend. I think they drew 0-0 with newly promoted, was it Oldham, I think? Let me just take a look. I'm pretty sure it was Oldham that they drew with, 0-0. And I don't even think they had a shot on target. And they had a front three of Mendes, Lang, Russian, Hepburn, Murphy and Aaron Collins. Need more wingers. Spot on, completely agree. One player I remember being amazing was Johnny Russell. He was one of those players who could shoot from anywhere and you wouldn't doubt it. I agree, but the problem that we had with Johnny Russell was, as much as he could do all of that, he ultimately didn't do it enough. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with these new players that have come in. Can anybody else sort of take that mantle? I'm not entirely sure, but it has been great. It's a good move for Derby. Obviously, the Sanderson sort of deal, I'm not too keen on, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail when it becomes official. I think that will win. I think that we'll win against Stoke 1-0 and CBT will score. I hope so. I genuinely hope so. I'd love CBT to be the winning goal scorer. If we were to sign a couple of wingers, who would you say? Now, there was a lot of talk about Lewis Koumas from, I think he's at Liverpool, who I think would have been a good signing, but he might end up elsewhere. And to be honest with you, I don't really know. The problem with those winger positions is to get a decent winger in this league, it costs a bit of money. So you sort of got to look out there. And to be honest, I had someone message me saying that we're looking at bringing Cade Gordon back as a squad option. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And there's obviously been talk about Amari Kellyman with him being put up. I'm pretty sure he's been made available for loan by Amari Kellyman, but we're going to have to sort of wait and see on that one, if I'm completely honest with you. Now, I am going to leave this stream here. I have been live for just over an hour's time. I appreciate every single one of you for stopping by. It's been absolutely amazing yet again. We are just a couple of subscribers away from hitting 2,500. So if you haven't done so already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you know that when I next go live, when I next post a video, you know when that all happens. And obviously, if we can hit 2,500 subscribers, that will be an absolutely mega achievement. I just want to, again, thank you all for stopping by. And I will catch you tomorrow. I've got a video coming out at 10 o'clock about some transfer news and why I think Derby County will become dark horses. Obviously, it's got a mention of Bobby Clark, Gilchrist, Travis and things like that. But make sure you've got that notification bell on so that you're here for that. And then tomorrow night, I'll be live at about 6 p.m. To discuss the championship, go through all the transfers, all the rumours and make a tier list, a prediction for the championship season. You can obviously do yours heading into tomorrow and we can sort of compare and contrast. But thank you once again for viewing. I'm just going to answer Julie's comment. What about Festi Ebeselli? I'd love him back. I just don't think he'll come. I think he's quite happy where he's at now, but we'll have to wait and see. But once again, thank you all for coming. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch